Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into my channel, and we are reading Adversity for Sale by Jeezy, and this is chapter 4, Come Shop With Me. So thank you for tuning in. So let's get started with chapter 4, part 1, Come Shop With Me. One day I was at Auntie Mother's house kicking it with Black. He was back taking another hiatus from Atlanta, and I was sitting in the kitchen watching him break up some weed. He probably had about $1,000 worth, which he was splitting into little $20 sacks and then stuffing them into John Ziploc. So he had something like a couch pillow full of weed. He already knew I was moving around a little bit here and there. He didn't know everything I was into, like he didn't know I was selling rocks, but he knew I was into something. Hey, cuz, you think you might be able to do something with this? He asked me when he was done. Aside from the incident with that bag from the crib, I built up a reputation in my family as being someone you could trust to hold something for you if you had to go out of town. So I figured that's what he wanted. Nah, he said when I asked, I was wondering if you might be able to sell it. When I brought the money back to him, he broke me off a little something. It wasn't much, maybe $80, if that, but I was so hungry I probably would have done it for less. As long as I was making progress, I didn't care. We started rocking from there. He gave me another Ziploc bag full of weed and I sold that. Then he gave me another and I sold that. Then he gave me another. Then when my cousin saw I had some other things going on as well, let's just say we diversified my portfolio. I started out small, but so slowly and surely built myself up. I didn't know it back then, but they were making top dollar off me, charging me all types of numbers for product that was so stepped on. I was surprised I was able to sell it at all. All I knew was they had it and I wanted it, and I could sell it as long as I put in the work. Day day and night, night and day. On the block, on my bike, posted up on the corner of Popular Street, or with gold mouth in his car overnight. Whenever, wherever, whenever, whatever. I was constantly serving, hustling nonstop. I'll be out working all night, running home, sleeping maybe an hour or two, go to school in the same clothes I had on the night before. As soon as school was out, I was right back on the block doing my thing. I didn't care what I didn't care what people thought about me. I didn't care if I was getting enough sleep. Didn't care if I was eating right. None of that. As long as I was making money and getting closer to my goals, I was good. No matter what it took, I was determined to build an empire. Right around then was when I put myself on a meal plan. At the time, Subway had a lunch special. 6-inch tuna sub with chips and a drink for $1.99. You know that was a long time ago. Shit. Let me read that again. Right around then was when the time I put myself on a bill plan. At the time, Subway had a lunch special. 6-inch tuna sub with chips and a drink for $1.99. Subway was about a mile and a half away from the block. So every day I bike over there, get lunch, and then bike right back. For me, it was an easy way to keep a sharp eye on my costs. If I made $100 a day, spent $2 on lunch, or the rest of my and ate the rest of my meals at home, I knew I could put away $98 at the end of the day. I knew it would take that type of discipline if I ever wanted to reach my goals. And I lived like that for years. Instead of going to the mall and buying 3 pairs of Jordans every week like other hustlers my age, I buy 1 pair a month and set them aside so I could pop out and get fresh when the time came. Same thing with haircuts and clothes. Instead of hitting the barbershop every day, I let my hair go all week, pull up to the mall on Saturday and get right, and keep it moving from there. The rest of the week, it was work clothes, old tennis shoes, and 6-inch tuna subs. I didn't want to spend all my money on a whole lot of extra shit just to impress. I picked that up from hanging around the old heads. A lot of younger cats aren't typically interested in what the older generation has to say, but that was never the case for me. I sit on my grandmother's porch for hours listening to her talk. It was the same thing when we barbecue in front of her front yard after church. All my aunties and uncles, family, friends, and neighbors would be over there, and I roam around the yard from conversation to conversation, ears open, soaking it all up. Gathering all that information was exciting to me. And I learned early on that if you listen closely to what people were saying, you could uncover a whole lot of gems. I think that's why some people in my family thought I was slow. Instead of running my mouth just to run it, I studied their moves so I could pick up on clues on how to get ahead of life in the game. Being smart with your money was the big being smart with your money was one of the big things that jumped out early on. In the hood, everybody was trying to find ways to script and save. You know how they say a dollar saved is a dollar earned. In that type of environment, a dollar saved was like $10 earned. Everybody's money was so short that stacking any types of savings was a win. After hearing enough people talk about how they were working all these hours and still struggling to feed their families, being frugal just to be just to being frugal just became a big part of who I was. Another thing I picked up on real quick, ain't nothing cool about going to jail. That's not to take anything away from anybody who's sitting down right now or who already did time. Our people get locked up all the time for all types of shit, and not always a legitimate reason either. If you did your time or you're doing time and you stay solid, I salute you. We all know there's nothing easy about going down that road, but that perceptive only comes with experience. When you're young and coming up in the hood, going to jail is almost like a badge of honor. Someone would get caught up and go do a short stretch, and when they come home, they'd be that dude, like he'd earned his stripe. But if you spend enough time around older cats who done some serious time and hear what's really going on in the penitentiary and it totally takes on your family and your relationships, I promise you your attitude will change. Going to jail isn't cool. It's something you got to watch out for and avoid. That was the type of game I was getting from being around older cats. I had to be smart with my money. I had to be strategic with my thinking and I had to be careful. Otherwise, I run the risk of hustling backwards on top of everything else and I refuse to go in reverse. Auntie Mother's house was perfect. For one, I've been going over there since I was a kid, so I knew the place inside out. Two, all the neighbors knew me. I was little Jay Wayne's kid. I might have been in and out of trouble, but for the most part, my reputation was solid, and everybody knew I'd never been straight up out of the middle of the street acting a fool. They all knew Auntie Mother too, and her reputation was fierce. She'd always been a little wild, but after she had a brain tumor the size of a grapefruit removed when I was in my early teens, she went from a little wild to straight up off the chain. To be honest with you, I think even the police were intimidated by her, no matter what was going on over there. And believe me, between me and my cousins, there was a lot going on. The police never raided her home. Never. I think they knew if they ever tried to show up, she'd be out in the yard trying to fight the officers, fist up like, God damn it, I just I just know none of you motherfuckers are about to try to take my ass to jail. So with that spot, the neighborhood, and Auntie Mother on my side, all I needed was the clientele. And Auntie Mother's house was perfect for that too. There was always something going on over there with all types of people coming in and out. And then every weekend she'd host these legendary card games. She spent all day cooking up a storm From the moment the factories let out until the sun came up, there'll be a parade of people coming through her doors, looking to eat, drink, smoke, talk shit, and play cards. I even had a stash house next door. My man Mail's man, my man Mailman's family lived right behind Auntie's mother's house, and we grown up together, so we were super cool. His upbringing was a lot different from mine. His mom worked at the bank, and his family was way more respectable and middle class. He was real laid back and chill, not all the way hood like I was. And if you met him out somewhere, he seemed like somebody you could trust. Matter of fact, that's how we ended up getting his name. That's how we ended up getting his name. Years later, when we were deep in the game, he was the guy who would take something from one place to the next, no matter the weather, roadblocks, or problems with the pickup or whatever. He was going to be right where he was supposed to be, on time, with that package in hand, just like the mailman or mailman. Honestly, mailman wasn't even trying to hustle like that. He had hoop dreams when we were coming up. The street dreams were mine. And if I could go back and do it all over again, I would have told him, yo, Mel, don't follow me down this road. But it went the way it went. And with Mailman's family house right there, only a chain link fence separating his bedroom window from Auntie Mother's backyard, I realized I could hold my stash. That way, whenever my supply ran low, I could dip out into the backyard, knock on Mailman's window, and he could reach through the fence and pass me bags so I could re up. That's how I turned Auntie Mother's house into my trap. It was jumping from day one. As usual, Auntie Mother was in the kitchen cooking up a storm with pork chops, fried chicken, mac and cheese, and collard greens all on the stove. Oh, you're getting it in, huh? I said when I walked in. She was like, nice night like this? Shit, I'm expecting a crowd. I asked her if she needed anything, but Auntie Mother was a pro. No, I'm good. Thanks, she said. Then she checked in on me. You good? I've been dabbling at her place the last couple of weeks, so she knew what I was up to. The whole family did, really. But whereas I usually post up and make a couple of plays early in the evening and bounce, that night I was planning on working the whole game. I spent the afternoon stashing bags all over the house so I wouldn't have a lot of on me in case the cops decided that night was the night they finally make a move. And the whole time I kept thinking, man, I wonder if this would work. The only thing left to do was wait and see. Oh, yeah, I told her, I'm straight. I left her in the kitchen and stepped onto the porch. Auntie Mother was right. You could tell it was going to be one of those nights. Early spring, clear skies, all the kids out playing in the street, the neighbors out in their yards talking and barbecuing and all that. Summer was coming, and the air just had that feeling like anything is possible. I was banking on it. I checked my pockets, pistol in my left, sacks in my right. Then I settled onto the little porch chair to wait. I didn't have to wait long. I swear over 100 people must have pulled up that night, and it felt like every single one of them wanted to holler at me. It was blur, non-stop, like, let me get 10, let me get 20, let me get another. Now, make it two. By the time the sun was coming up, I was exhausted, but I knew I made a killing. I just didn't know how much. I ducked into one of the empty bedrooms and emptied my pockets onto the bed to do my count. I separated everything into a neat stack: ones, fives, tens, 20s, and so on, all face up, lined the same way. Then I started counting, and every time I hit 1,000, I threw a rubber band on it to set it aside. It took me over an hour to do my count, and when I was done, I had 15 racks sitting there on the bed. It was the most money I made in one night, and I stepped back to take it in. My mind started racing. If I can make that much in a night, I could make 30 grand in a weekend. Better yet, how much could I make in a week or a month or a year? I started replaying the night in my head, looking for ways to improve. Who that who had I talked to? Who wanted what when? Where their spots were. I might have slipped up and lost the cell. The voice in my head kept going. How can I be more efficient? How can I go harder? How can I even get more done? How can I be relentless? I was back out on Auntie Mother's front porch the very next night, and the night after that, and the night after that, and the night after that. Even though she didn't host card games every night, I was still making sales. More importantly, I was building up the spot. And people started to know if you wanted to come see me, you could find me posted up at Auntie Mother's front porch with plenty of product on deck, ready to serve. Over the next few years, I went from hustling a couple of rocks on Popular Street to running a Fortune 500 company on my auntie's front porch. And I played it so low key, hardly anyone knew. Because no matter how much money was coming in, I kept my routine. Haircut once a week, couple pair of Jordans a month, six subs for lunch. And when I cut out the middleman and started dealing with the plug directly, I still didn't ball out. And when the big homies from out of town started coming in to see me about getting some weight, I always tell them the same thing. Cool. Let me go talk to my people. What they didn't know was that my people was me. It didn't take Auntie Mother long to catch on to what was going on, though. And when she found out how much money I was making, she popped me right in the nose. I was in her kitchen cooking up my cousin's recipe, and I'm not talking soul food either. When bop, shit, goddamn, what the fuck? Auntie Mother could throw a punch. She was like, motherfucker, I didn't know what the hell, I don't know what the hell you think you doing sitting on my front porch getting rich. And you're not going to cut right on back to your mama place or wherever you want to go with the nonsense thinking you're going to pay, thinking you're not going to pay me shit. So what is it, Lil J? You got some money for me or what? God damn. You didn't just have to talk. You didn't just want to talk to me first. I asked her, trying to keep the blood dripping from my nose from falling falling in the pot. We're talking now, aren't we? That was Auntie Mother, straight up off the chain. We sat down and worked it all out, and we became business partners after that. She kept up the front, and I ran the trap. And for a while, the money kept stacking up. By the time I was 17, I was young and thugging for real. I had so much money coming in, I filled up the biggest safe I could find at Walmart. And I was burying money in paint buckets all over the yard. The trap was booming and everything was going according to plan. But at the same time, I was stressed. This was the early to mid 90s, and nobody was talking about anxiety disorders, especially not in the hood. But looking back, I knew that's exactly what was going on with me. I was in way over my head. On the one hand, I was proud of all the money I was bringing in because it made me feel like I was really doing something with my life. And I was able to put it up to good use too. I was helping my mom make the payments on her trailer and giving money to my grandmother and my sister. And then there was all the money everybody I was working with was making. To me, that's that was what it was all about, making everybody's lives better and spreading the wealth. But then I couldn't stop thinking about everything that could go wrong either. Like, what if the police pulled up, or some junkie tried to take me out, or my supply ran dry, or those paint buckets leaked, or somebody kicked in my grandmother's door and tried to get in the safe, or, or it got so bad I was even worried about becoming a junkie my damn self, especially after my man taught me how to cook. I'd be in the kitchen with him for hours and then I'd go to school feeling crazy. My mind would be racing, my heart pounding, and I just knew I was becoming an addict by being around all them fumes. Matter of fact, I got so paranoid about it one day. When I was 15, I ripped a page out the back of my grandmother's yellow pages and called 1-800 drug hotline from one of the payphones at school. When the person on the other line picked up talking about, hi, you reached, I damn near whispered into the phone like, hey, Listen. So I've been around some people, right? And they've been like, I've been in the kitchen with them, with like lots of fumes, and I'm really worried about I might be getting addicted to drugs. Like, how would I know? Can you tell me how would I know? I swear my heart was beating so fast I thought it was about to jump right out my chest. Just talking a little bit about what was going on made me feel like the cops or my teachers or somebody was going to come snatch me up right then and there. And when the guy on the line started asking me all these questions about my parents and who my guardians were, I got so nervous I just hung up the phone and walked away. That's how bad it was in those early years. I didn't know where to turn. And whenever my anxiety would get real bad, I just assumed it was the withdrawal symptoms kicking in. I told myself I was doing it big, but the truth is I was still a kid and I wasn't emotionally equipped to handle what I was actually getting into. One of my biggest fears was that one of my biggest fears was that I have one moment of weakness, and the next thing I know, I'll be out on the block, lost. I've seen it happen before. I'll be hustling with somebody one day, and then a couple of weeks later, I see the same cat out there trying to cope. It wasn't just guys I hustled with either. I've seen family members and close friends get strung out and struggle with addiction. So I carried that fear with me for a long, long time, even years later. When I was out on the road making moves, hustling state to state, and staying in all those Motel Sixes and Days Inns, I'll be lying there with them thinking of, I'll be lying, I'll be there with them, things tucked under the mattress, inches from my head, thinking, what if tonight's the night I let myself slide? I never did, though. Not even to this day. Despite everything I've seen and all the opportunities I've had, I've never tried it. That's how I know my mind is strong. Back then, I really felt like my mind was starting to break. And the only way I knew how to beat back that feeling was to keep working. And I was speeding down the highway with no brakes, knowing it was only a matter of time before I crashed, praying to God every day that He would give me the strength to hold on just a little longer. And then I got locked up. That's the end of chapter 4. Thank you for tuning in to my channel. Like and tell a friend. Bye.